What if I told you the universe has already been whispering a direction to you, a simple doorway back to the source? And that doorway only needs 5 minutes of your attention to begin to open. That is the promise in the title, and I mean it with all the urgency and care of someone who has watched people find, lose, and then remember this doorway again and again. You are closer than you think. The baseline awareness we call the source is not a distant goal. It's the quiet field behind your thoughts, the background hum that's always been present even when life felt loudest. If you've felt swept along by busyness, anxious about choices, or numb to meaning, you're not broken. Modern life layers static on top of that underlying field, a constant commentary of stories about who you are, what you must do, and what's at stake. That static hides the clarity you were born with. The good news is that there is a simple, practical method described in various traditions for centuries and now presented in a modern, accessible way that reliably helps you notice that field again. It's not a magic cure, it's not a spiritual credential, and it doesn't remove responsibilities. It gives you a better relationship with them. Before I show you the technique, let's be honest about the obstacle: noise. Noise is more than loud sounds. It's inner chatter, judgments, future projections, replayed scenes from the past, identity narratives that insist, "I am this way," or "I'm not capable." It attaches to sensory overload too, notifications, constant input, the pressure to perform. When noise dominates, awareness is still there, but it is dimmed, like a light filtered through a dirty window. The method I'm about to share clears the grime enough that the light becomes visible again. You don't have to force the light, you only need to stop covering it. The method I'll teach you is intentionally short. 3 micro steps you can do in about 5 minutes. It's been preserved in many forms across cultures, not as tribal property, but as repeated human wisdom, because it works with how attention naturally operates. Each step is simple, precise, and gentle. Notice the breath, bring attention into the body, and practice non-forcing. That's it. Step 1. Notice the breath. Do not manipulate it, just notice. Let your breathing be exactly as it is right now. Follow the sensations at the entry and exit of the breath. The soft movement at the nostrils, the subtle rise and fall in the chest or belly. No need to change the rhythm, no need to deepen or lengthen. The point is to offer attention to something immediate and neutral. The breath is like a tether. It keeps attention from wandering so wildly that you stay trapped in thoughtland. Step 2. Bring your attention into the body. Move the ruler of awareness from the edge of the mind to inside. See if you can sense the weight of your feet on the floor, the contact of your clothes, an inner warmth or coolness, the small tension behind your eyes, the space behind your sternum. This is not a checklist, it's a gentle shifting from abstract thinking to living sensation. When you bring attention into the body, the stories in your head lose their gravitational pull. The body grounds you in the present, and the present is where the source can be recognized. Step 3. Non-forcing. This is the tender mastery of the whole practice. Release any agenda about how the practice should feel or what you should achieve. If something arises, a memory, a pain, a thought, let it be there without trying to push it away or fix it. If nothing seems to happen, that's fine too. Non-forcing is the posture of curiosity and allowance. It creates a container where awareness can reveal itself without coercion. Imagine opening a window without slamming it. You allow the light in rather than trying to squeeze it. Try this for 5 minutes now. Pause the video if that helps and simply follow the 3 micro steps. Notice the breath, bring attention into the body, and adopt an attitude of non-forcing. There is no right scorecard here. Just notice what changes, even if the change is small, a softer tension in the jaw, a small gap in the thinking. Many people notice something within the first few minutes. Others notice slowly over days of practice. Both are normal. Why does this work? There are two ways to understand it. One psychological and practical, the other experiential and direct. Psychologically, attention is a muscle. When it's habitually grabbed by thought, it loses tone in sensation and presence. Focusing on the breath and body retrains attention to what's happening now. That shift down regulates the nervous system's reactivity, not as a medical treatment, but as a natural cascade. When you stop feeding the endless story loop, the brain's prediction machinery softens, and you can feel clearer responses instead of reflexive reactions. On the experiential side, awareness is already present, always. Thoughts and identities are temporary waves. Awareness is the ocean they arise in. The three-step practice doesn't create awareness. It reveals the awareness that was already there by removing the hand that's covering the mirror. Think of it like finding a radio that's been on the wrong station for years. You don't fix the radio, you simply tune back to the station that was always available. The breath and body are the tuning knobs. Let's talk about readiness versus discipline, because this is where many people get tripped up. Some people shift quickly with minimal practice. They often have less clinging to identity stories, or fewer layers of shame and fear that demand certainty. Others move slowly, and that's perfectly fine. Speed and depth aren't moral measures. Readiness isn't about worthiness. It's about how much energy your identity is using to hold things together. Willingness to look, willingness to let go gently is far more important than frantic discipline. You won't speed this by pushing harder. You'll speed it by softening your grip. That said, momentum matters. Noise breeds noise. Every day you postpone attentive practice, the patterns that feed distraction gain strength. This is not meant to induce anxiety, but to be honest about how habit works. Neglect allows patterns to calcify. Small, honest practices shift momentum. 5 minutes a day is a place to begin. It is better than the perfection trap that keeps you from starting at all. Over time, those 5 minutes become a hillside from which you can see new terrain, and you'll find opportunities to bring presence into ordinary tasks. Conversations, walking, waiting in line. What might you notice when you reconnect with the source, even briefly? Expect subtlety. Many report an internal quiet, like a space opening where thoughts are quieter and clearer. Decisions can feel less fraught, not because the problems vanish, but because you relate differently to the confusion. You may experience clarity, gentle joy, or an odd disorientation. Disorientation happens because identity stories briefly lose their authority. When the map you've used for a long time fades, the ground under your feet can feel uncertain. This is not a crisis. It's a sign that something inside is rearranging. Give it time. Gentle curiosity and compassionate curiosity toward yourself are the best companions in that phase. Integration is where practice meets life. Reconnecting with Source does not erase bills, difficult relationships, or grief. What changes is your relationship to those things. Clarity changes reactivity into response. You might find you choose differently, speak more honestly, or step back where needed. Integration also involves practical adjustments, slowing down before making big decisions, seeking wise counsel, and sometimes doing inner work to process emotions that surface. If intense emotions or memories arise during practice, consider seeking a qualified professional. This short practice is a gentle invitation, not a substitute for therapy. There are a few practical signals to watch for that suggest deeper integration is beginning. First, you'll notice micro-pauses where you didn't used to have them, a moment before reacting, a space to choose. Second, your sense of self may feel less brittle. You'll see thoughts as events rather than absolute truths. Third, your emotional life may begin to settle with less forcing. All of these are gradual. Do not expect a cinematic transformation. Real inner shifts tend to be quiet, cumulative, and profoundly life-changing in ways that are ordinary. Now, some people worry that once you touch this source, responsibility evaporates or life becomes less meaningful. The opposite tends to be true. When the background awareness is clearer, life regains its color and urgency in a balanced way. You still have obligations, you still feel pain, but pain is now something you move through with more clarity. The source doesn't take you out of life, it returns you more fully into it. Many who practice report a stronger capacity to love, to work, and to handle life's practical demands with steadier hands. Let me offer a few micro-practices that help integration beyond the 5-minute session. First, habit stack presence. Attach a brief awareness check to an already existing habit, like after you brush your teeth or before you open your computer. 2 mindful breaths are enough to redirect momentum. Second, notice windows of clarity. When you feel that small gap, act on it. If it's a nudge to call someone, write, or finish a task, follow that impulse before the noise returns. Acting during windows of clarity builds trust between your inner guidance and your life. Third, be patient with the body. Sense, movement, and restful sleep support integration. Movement, like walking with attention on the feet, spreads presence through the nervous system. There are common pitfalls to avoid. One is chasing experiences, trying to recreate a peak feeling as if it were a prize. That pursuit often strengthens the identity that wants the prize, which defeats the purpose. Another pitfall is comparing progress with others. Inner work is not a competition. A third is spiritual bypassing, using presence to avoid real-life responsibilities or emotional work. Presence helps you face what's difficult more clearly, not less. A few words on urgency. I say there's an urgency because every day, without practice, makes the old patterns more automatic. This is not to shame you, it's to invite action. If you care about living with more clarity, a small practice today changes the slope of habit tomorrow. Momentum is cumulative. Start small, be kind to yourself, and let practice be a friend you visit each day, not a drill sergeant you avoid. You might wonder where this technique comes from. It has appeared in many forms across cultures and ages. That doesn't make it proprietary to any one group. It suggests a convergent human insight. Attention to breath and body creates a bridge to awareness. Historically, variations of this practice have been described in contemplative writings for centuries, reappearing in different languages and cultural frames. I mention that only to show continuity, not to claim ownership or specific lineage. If you want a concise roadmap for the first month, here's a simple, humble plan. Begin with 5 minutes each morning for the 3 steps. Notice breath, body attention, non-forcing. After 2 weeks, add 2 shorter scans during the day, 1 mid-morning, 1 mid-afternoon. At the end of each week, take a moment to write 1 sentence about any change you noticed. Make it small and realistic. This keeps practice honest and observable. Over time, expand sessions as it feels natural. Remember, willingness is the engine, not force. Let's be clear about safety again. This practice is gentle, but sometimes inner material can arise strongly. If you experience overwhelming emotions or traumatic memories, please reach out to a qualified therapist or counselor. This 5-minute method is not a replacement for professional care. It is an invitation to awareness, not a cure-all. Before I close, I want to normalize the emotional terrain you might cross. Many people feel a strange mixture of joy and grief during integration. Old comforts may no longer serve. Relationships may shift as you become more honest. That can be painful and beautiful at once. Stay compassionate with yourself and others. If confusion increases for a while, it's often part of the clearing. Keep practice simple. Return to the breath, notice the body, and rest in non-forcing. Finally, remember this. The universe doesn't owe you anything, but it has placed a doorway within you that you've already been touching. Sometimes life teaches us to forget that doorway. Sometimes it nudges us back. The technique I've shared is not a secret of a chosen few. It's an invitation anyone can accept. Try the 5-minute practice now or later today. Notice what changes, however small. Let curiosity, not pressure, be your guide. If this resonated, subscribe for more practices and guided sessions that help you bring presence into daily life. There is more to explore: guided 5-minute sessions, deeper integration talks, and practical ways to bring clarity into relationships and work. You are not late. Begin now, gently, and watch how small attention becomes a steady companion.